I saw something about Coach Prime floating around on Twitter, and it had to do with speculation as to why he was not a serious consideration at Auburn, and why the talks with Auburn didn't really go anywhere. And I have to say, I'm not. This is not about who posted that, so don't make it about that. I just wanted to dig a little more into this interview with Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, and why he supposedly did not want to come to Auburn. So when I watched the full interview he did with Shannon Sharp, I did see the clip where it mentioned him talking about the boosters. So I'll play a little bit of that right now just so you can have some context. But more or less, he's talking about how he did not want to meet with the boosters at Jackson State. So watch that clip right here.
Did you hate going to like these meetings with boosters that it felt like you were
I wasn't
begging?
going to no boosters meeting. I wasn't doing that. For what? $5,000? I'm not doing that. I can go
Every little bit help.
No. My time, no. No, that's an insult. My time is much more valuable than that.
So the way that clip was taken by some people was that he didn't want to, quote unquote, play ball with the boosters, I guess you could say, and that he did not want to meet with the boosters. But the way I read that is that he didn't think meeting with the boosters was worth his time. I think I wrote down his quote on this was, I wasn't going to a boosters meeting for what, $5,000? Or 5,000, I can't remember exactly how he said it. But then he said, my time is more valuable than that. So to me, in that video, he's not saying that he doesn't want to sit down with the boosters. He's just saying that at the school he was at, it wasn't worth his time. He's basically saying, why is it worth my time to sit down and talk with these people when it's going to amount to $5,000? That's not worth it. My time is more valuable than $5,000. That's how I took that. So I didn't take this as, he's the guy that will not meet with boosters at all. That's not how I took it at all. And he actually digs into this a little more if you watch further into this interview. And he talks a little more about funding in general. And I think this goes to a larger point as to why Coach Prime wanted to go to a Power 5 school. I think a majority of that reason had to do with funding and resources. Funding and resources that he couldn't get at Jackson State. And he goes into that a little more, and, and I'll show you this brief clip where he talks about, wanting better facilities, funding, that kind of thing. So watch this brief clip real quick.
The dream that we want better facilities, and we're overlooked and underfunded. I've established that. And we made strides towards that.
Okay.
Overlooked and underfunded. That's kind of how he put the situation at the school he was at. And he keeps digging in more and more into this overall thought that funding and facilities were an issue. And I don't think he saw a path forward for that to get better. And he digs even, more into this as to why he thinks that may be the case. And I think Shannon Sharp may have asked the question, or Deion may have asked the question himself. I can't remember, but why is the school underfunded? And he gets into that just speculation in his head. He got there and he's trying to figure out, why is this the case? Why are we underfunded? And you can see that right here.
Let's talk about the overall funding of school.
Okay.
And
We're talking about HBCUs.
period. I wanted to bring solvency to how are we broke? How are we always asking?
Right.
Why are we always in the deficit?
Right.
Everybody? You mean everybody? That's a problem for me.
With that, he really alludes to him questioning more the funding processes and the procedures that were in place. He's not saying that anything nefarious or bad was being done, but he's trying to understand why every school's underfunded, every school's having trouble raising money and having to ask all the time. Why is that the case? What's being done? Could something be done to better this situation, or could something be put in place to make this better for everybody? So he's just questioning what's going on. But once again, it gets back to his overall concern, which was funding, lack of resources. Coach Prime also goes a little further into why he thinks there's funding issues with schools like Jackson State and other HBCUs, and he alluded to partially. He talked about alumni giving back, which I've not looked into at all, so I can't speak to that.
Unless it is true that only 7% of graduates are giving back
Right.
to their alma maters, and when they give, it's not substantial.
Right.
So I believe that's a problem.
But then he also mentioned there's a problem with how the money that's collected from games like Classics, how that money is actually given back to the universities.
You had a problem with going
The
to play these
classics,
bowl
the
games, playing
classics.
classics,
Yes.
and saying the money goes to the general scholarship fund. It goes to the school instead of the football.
Who's playing the game? Who's at risk?
Right.
We are. So why should that not be in its totality ours?
Right.
He was complaining that he's saying that, the football team goes out and does this work. They play the game, they put in the work, they put in the time, and then the money goes back to the university and is split in the general fund. And he's basically saying that's not fair. If we're going out and earning that money, that should go back to the football program. And so that was another complaint he said. He's like, if that money came back to the football program, well, yeah, then we can build the football program up even more because we would have the funding. So those are, I just wanted to pull a little more context into that narrative that was floating around about why Deion Sanders did not go to Auburn. And I'm not saying that what was put out there is wrong. I 100% think that the boosters would have a large part to do with that. I just think in the clip that was shown, that's not what he was saying. The whole premise of that clip that he was saying is that him meeting with the boosters in that context was not worth his time. His time is worth more than $5,000. So while Deion Sanders may not have wanted to come to Auburn because of the boosters, that's not what he was saying in this particular clip. Thank you guys for watching. I'd love to hear your thoughts on Coach Prime, why he didn't come to Auburn, and what you think about the hiring of Coach Hugh Freeze. Thank you again for watching. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.
I wasn't doing that. For what? $5,000? I'm not doing that. I can go
Every little bit help.
No. My time, no. No. That's an insult. My time is much more valuable than that.